Have you ever felt like something inside you already knows when life is about to change before anything actually happens? That strange tension in the air, that uneasiness in your chest, it's not fear, it's your mind and spirit warning you. Pay attention, something is coming. Most people ignore that signal, and that's why they keep walking straight into the same storms again and again. But what if today you finally understood what that feeling truly means? Before anything shifts in the physical world, it first stirs within you. The body reacts, the mind becomes uneasy, the atmosphere feels off. That's not paranoia, that's perception. The human being is far more sensitive than we admit. Our consciousness is wired to pick up what the eyes cannot yet see. But the problem is, most people have become too distracted to hear that internal signal anymore. We live surrounded by noise, information, entertainment, endless stimulation, and in that constant vibration, the subtle messages are drowned. You've felt it before, haven't you? A strange feeling that something isn't right. You can't explain it logically, but your spirit knows. That moment is not random. It is an invitation, a quiet voice saying, pause, observe, prepare. The danger is not in what is coming, but in ignoring the warning that precedes it. We have been taught to value intellect over intuition, analysis over awareness, but wisdom begins where noise ends. In the ancient traditions, this awareness was sacred. People spent years mastering silence not because they feared the world, but because they wanted to understand its rhythm. Silence is not emptiness, it's space, space for truth to enter. When you remove distraction, what remains is perception. You start noticing details others overlook. The tone behind someone's words, the tension in the air, the unease in your chest. These are not accidents, they are early signals of change. Sometimes, what we call anxiety is actually intuition begging to be acknowledged. You sense a shift, but instead of reflecting, you escape, you scroll, you talk, you distract yourself. Yet that discomfort was not meant to torment you. It was meant to prepare you, to remind you that something around you or within you requires attention. So, when that internal warning appears, stop dismissing it as fear. Recognize it as awareness, the first form of divine communication. The body, the heart, the spirit, they all speak before the mind can translate. The more you listen, the clearer life becomes. Because what's dangerous is not what's coming toward you, it's walking into it unprepared. Remember this, the voice that warns you is the same voice that protects you, if only you learn to listen. The real danger has never been outside of you, it has always lived quietly within. People spend their lives defending themselves from the world, preparing for external threats, while remaining blind to the internal ones. Fear, ego, pride, self, deception, these are the true forces that destroy peace long before any event in the physical world can. We build walls against what we can see, but leave the door wide open to what we cannot. Think about it. How often do you wake up already restless, already running from something you can't even name? The body may be calm, but the mind is already in battle. You fight opinions, expectations, memories, doubts. And all of that happens before you even take your first breath of the day consciously. This is the unseen war, the danger of being awake physically but asleep spiritually. The danger of reacting without reflection, of living by impulse rather than insight. When you are disconnected from truth, every small challenge feels like an attack. Every obstacle feels personal. But the moment you reconnect, when you pause, breathe, and observe without judgment, the storm outside loses its power. You begin to realize that chaos doesn't enter your life by accident. It enters to show you where you are unbalanced, where you are resisting growth. In that way, what feels dangerous is often just your comfort zone being stripped away. You see, most people pray for peace, yet live in ways that invite disturbance. They want clarity, but hold on to confusion. They want transformation, but fear letting go. This inner contradiction is the real danger, a divided self trying to find harmony. The truth is simple but hard to accept. What you refuse to face within yourself, life will keep confronting you with again and again until you finally see. So, if today feels heavy, uncertain, or strange, don't look outward for someone to blame. Look inward and ask, what part of me is unprepared for this moment? Because awareness is the first shield against danger. And remember this. The greatest threat to your peace is not the storm around you. It's the silence of your own neglected soul. When something breaks in your life, your first instinct is often fear, a tightening in the chest, a desperate wish for things to go back to how they were. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, what if what's falling apart isn't meant to stay? What if the storm that just arrived isn't here to destroy you, but to remove what no longer serves your growth? We've been conditioned to see every challenge as an enemy, every disruption as danger, but look deeper and you'll notice that many of your greatest transformations came from discomfort. Pain has always been a messenger, not a punishment. The moment we stop resisting that truth, life begins to shift. The things you once called obstacles often turn out to be alignment, the universe clearing your path, not blocking it. When a storm enters, it doesn't ask for permission. It comes with purpose. It shakes the weak structures, exposes hidden cracks, and forces you to rebuild on stronger foundations. That's what truth does. It removes illusions, and sometimes it takes chaos to reveal where you've been living falsely. You might think you lost something important, but maybe what you lost was only a version of yourself that could no longer move forward. The purpose of the storm is purification, to strip away what was temporary, to make room for what is lasting. Growth rarely comes dressed in comfort. It arrives in confusion, silence, and change. That's why so many people resist it, because it doesn't feel like a blessing when it happens. But what feels like breaking down is often just life breaking open. So when something collapses, don't rush to rebuild the old. Stand still. Observe what was revealed. Let the storm complete its work before you try to return to normal. Because normal is often the very pattern that attracted the storm in the first place. You don't need to fear the shaking. You need to understand it. Only then can you stand in the middle of the wind and know that what's being removed is not your life falling apart. It's your old self being released. And remember this, the storm doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to show you what can no longer stay. When you feel like everything around you is unstable, the first thing you should question is not the world, but your alignment within it. The external always reflects the internal. When the mind is scattered, life feels chaotic. When the heart is conflicted, relationships mirror that confusion. When your actions don't match your values, everything feels forced. Alignment is not a spiritual luxury, it's a necessity. It's the invisible thread that holds together your peace, your focus, and your strength. The truth is, most people are not living out of alignment because they are bad or lost. They are simply disconnected. They've been taught to chase goals before understanding direction, to act before understanding why. And so they move fast, but without rhythm. They achieve, but without meaning. Alignment isn't about speed. It's about synchronization. It's the point where thought, word, and action move together in one current. You can feel when you're out of alignment. Life starts resisting you, opportunities disappear, energy drains, you wake up tired even when you've done nothing. That's not random, it's the universe reflecting your imbalance back to you. The danger of ignoring this is that you begin to normalize dysfunction. You call exhaustion hustle. You call anxiety motivation. You confuse chaos with progress. But deep down, you know something feels off because the soul cannot pretend for long. The path to real alignment begins in awareness. You don't fix it by forcing control. You restore it by returning to stillness. Listen, observe, reflect. Where am I lying to myself? What have I been pursuing that doesn't match who I am anymore? Those questions open the door back to balance, because once you are aligned, life stops fighting you. What belongs to you begins to flow naturally. Even challenges feel different. They don't break you, they guide you. When your inner world is ordered, the outer world adjusts. You stop chasing signs and start becoming one. You begin to understand that peace is not something you find. It's something you create by being true to yourself in thought, feeling, and action. And remember this, when you move in alignment, you no longer chase purpose, you become it. Every warning in life carries a hidden test, not to destroy you, but to measure your readiness. When something unexpected shakes your world, the question is never, why is this happening to me? But rather, what is this trying to teach me? Every situation that disturbs your peace is an invitation to rise into greater awareness. Yet most people respond to such moments with fear, not curiosity. They fight the lesson and call it misfortune. But in truth, the divine rarely warns without purpose. When life whispers, "Be careful," it's not a threat, it's guidance. You can think of these warnings as inner exams of faith and discipline. They test your ability to remain centered when everything around you begins to lose shape. It's easy to be calm when life is comfortable, but calmness has no meaning until it's challenged. Real strength is not measured in still waters. It's revealed in the storm. The mind that has not been tested will always remain fragile. Only through friction does clarity emerge. When you're faced with uncertainty, you have two options. You can react from fear or respond from awareness. Fear blinds, awareness illuminates. Fear says, "I'm losing control." But awareness says, "Something greater is guiding me." This shift in perception transforms chaos into training. Every warning becomes a classroom where you learn how to trust, how to listen, and how to surrender without collapsing. Remember, the test isn't about whether you fall, it's about whether you wake up differently after you do. The divine doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for participation. To stay conscious in the middle of confusion, to breathe in the middle of fear, to listen when your instinct is to run. That is the real examination of growth. And when you pass such tests, something changes permanently inside you. You no longer fear what's coming because you've learned to trust what's within. You stop seeing life as punishment and begin to see it as preparation. Every challenge becomes a signal that you are being refined, not rejected. So when the next warning comes, don't panic, prepare, because what feels like danger may just be destiny checking if you're ready. And remember this, tests don't come to weaken you, they come to prove that you've already become stronger. When you make it through what was meant to break you, something irreversible happens inside. You begin to see the world and yourself with a different clarity. Survival is not just about staying alive, it's about awakening. Every storm you outlast rewires your perception. The same things that once triggered fear now trigger awareness. The same moments that used to feel like endings now feel like openings. You no longer rush to escape discomfort because you understand that pain was never the enemy, it was the instructor. What's fascinating is how transformation always follows turbulence. Think about it. Fire purifies metal, pressure creates diamonds, and darkness teaches the eyes how to see light. Human growth follows the same law. The more you resist the uncomfortable, the longer you delay your evolution. When you finally stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What did this awaken in me?" that's when the shift begins. That's when wisdom takes root. You start to realize that peace doesn't mean a life without storms. It means becoming the kind of person who can remain still within them. The experience of pain gives birth to perspective. It teaches you compassion, discipline, humility, qualities that comfort alone could never build. And with every test survived, your soul becomes quieter but stronger, softer but sharper. There's a kind of stillness that only arrives after chaos, a calm that isn't naive but earned. It's the calm of someone who has faced their own darkness and didn't run. You begin to move differently through life, not out of arrogance, but out of understanding. You trust the process because you've seen what happens when you don't. You understand that sometimes the most painful days were the exact ones that redirected your destiny. So, when you look back on the warnings, the storms, and the tests, you realize none of it was random. Every moment had purpose, every fall was preparation. What you survived became your sight. And remember this, the pain you've passed through is not your story of suffering, it's your initiation into strength. What once broke you now builds you.